talk about all things Wado-Ru, or is it Wado-Kai? Which is the official?
It doesn't matter.
It's both the same.
Matter, yeah.
A karate style that's kind of been hidden under the radar a little bit compared to all the other styles. So, dying to hear all about it and some of the history or whatever you want to talk about. But tell us, Colin, how did you get into it? When was your first taste of karate?
Right. Well, I'm 68 now, and I began as a 13-year-old in I think it was 1970 thereabouts, at the Temple Karate Centre in Birmingham, England, and I got in purely by I had an uncle who had joined. He was 6 years older than me, so we were more like brothers than uncle and nephew. And what he did, I'd have to do. And I admired him an awful lot, you see. And he joined the Temple Club with a mate of his, and I got in then afterwards and joined. There wasn't many kids my age at that particular time, so it was a little bit difficult because my uncle was 19, you know, I was 13, he was a grown man. He fitted in well, I didn't. But there was one class after another that at that time, it was like 1 hour classes, and once one class had finished, another one would roll in straight away and stuff, and it was like that, I'd say, for most of the day and most of the week. It was so popular at it was just known as karate. Remember, none of us knew what a style was at the time.
Right.
You say Wado-Ru to me, I hadn't a clue. I just found out it was Wado-Ru at a much later stage, you know, when someone said, yeah, you're practicing Wado-Ru. Oh, well, there's this, that and the other. Then it was explained to me. But not a whole lot was actually explained to you back then about things. You just, as the Japanese instructors would say, don't ask, just copy, you know, and just do as you're told, basically, you know.
And was there a lot of Japanese instructors at that time in the
Yeah.
UK?
Again, I'd have to go really kind of deep into more names and stuff like that of how they came to be there. But the Temple Club was fortunate enough to have Sakigami Sensei, Toru Takamizawa. I think he was the number one. Again, I'm speaking now from the memory of a 13-year-old, you know. So I wasn't like on the inner circle or anything. I just turned up for my class. So, but I got to know some of them through the training. And now, even as a 13-year-old, you would be just treated like anybody else. And if you were the odd female member that might come in, would be treated exactly like the men, you know. So everyone's treated exactly. If they came up to show you a foot sweep and they took the foot from under you, they did it the same as they do it from a grown male, you know.
Yes.
So it was that kind of thing. But great instructors. Tatsuo Suzuki would have been the kind of national, you know, he would have been the main man in England at that time. And I think Shomitsu Sensei and all, when they, and Sakigami, as I say, when they arrived over, you know, to reinforce the teacher squad, you know, the instructor squad, because it was becoming so popular, they needed more instructors, and that's how, you know, the Temple was one of the first, I believe, Wado-Ru karate clubs to start off. Just, I suppose, after that as well, then we had Eddie Daniels with the Shukokai around the corner, and then you had Laogar Kung Fu up the road. Then maybe about 3 years after, I think around 1972 or 3, they started. You know, I went at that for a while as well. With a friend. You know.
And how did you find the training back then? Like, would it have been old school tough?
Yeah, it's very tough, and like you had, from what I remember now in that child's mind, I think there was about six Makiwara posts in it, you know, so people were doing that, you know, not the younger ones like me, but yeah, it was tough enough, because I mean, when you sparred, no, it wasn't called sparring, it was called free fighting, Jiu Kumite, and you were just called out. It wasn't, oh, you're not the same height as that person, or you're not the same age. It's just everyone, you just called out on the floor. You're going to sit around the dojo, and then just you, there, bang, 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 you, you know. So, yeah, it was good. Thinking back, it was good, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and then I suppose like when you look at today, we don't really have Japanese instructors in Ireland
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Would you say that's because more people can go to travel and learn in Japan, or has it? I won't say. I don't know. It's hard. We don't see them anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Mainly they're bringing in for courses and stuff,
And workshops and things and
workshops
seminars,
now
right?
and again. But like I did many of those as well, as in attended many of those. I've went to England for umpteen courses with the same instructors and stuff like that. And sometimes with instructors I wouldn't normally have. So like Shingo Agami, the late Shingo Agami, he would have been based out of Sweden, but he'd come and do a course, a brilliant historian as well of karate and a brilliant martial artist. And his knowledge across the board was, I don't know if it was the best of everybody that was around, but he could do katas from all the styles. The same kata in the different styles way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He was that knowledgeable. But other than that, some of the courses that I attended, I would say Sakagami was teaching in Holland. My last course was in Holland. I brought my son, and we trained there on my very last course. I had made sure to tell him that this was my very last course. I'm not doing any more courses, you know, because it was the same thing over and over again, years, over and over again. No matter where you went, it was the same thing: syllabus training, you know. So that edged me on then just to move on, like, you know. Eventually now I've just arrived at a place where I'm independent, and I've got some students with me that are with me for 30 to 40 years, some of them,
Right.
from the original group, like, you know, and stuff. So I'm happy where I am and doing what I'm doing, you know.
So if you kind of decided you've taken the Wateroo and you obviously you've torn it apart and looked at different things and made it more practical.
Well, what I've done was like under the guidance, I used to have I don't know if you know Kim McManaman, sensei from Donegal, I think it is, up that way. Well, he went and did training under George Dillman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for the pressure point stuff and all that. So I had an interest in that because I knew, like everybody, we know that karate was based on a lot of that Tamai, you know, striking and pressure point. I mean, at the end of the day, right, karate itself is a civilian art based on a martial art of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and most jiu-jitsu would have had striking parts to their systems as well, because you had to, you covered everything,
Yes.
as well as the weapons and stuff, you know. But when weapons are not allowed, and you go to a karate club, and your hands, obviously, the old saying is they become the weapons, your feet become the weapons, this, that, and the other, you know. But the thing is that people mix, to me, in my opinion, people mix wrongly the idea that martial art and self-defense are the same thing, right? Because that's war and that's not war, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you have to have some kind of protection. But not everybody is a fighter,
No.
which means even if you got a third dan black belt in Wado-Kai, say, it doesn't mean you can defend yourself. Because you can be a third dan black belt, and as most of them call themselves coaches these days, rather than instructors, you can see where their loyalties would lie in the sporting arena, which I've nothing against. I competed myself, but I never competed in the modern stuff that they do now, you know. So that's where they would mix up. Self-defense is not about fighting. It's not about me and you fighting each other. If you're the aggressor and you're going to hurt me, I can't stand back and say, right, put him up.
No.
You know, put them up and the two of us are going to fight. You'd probably beat the crap out of me. But self-defense on a preemptive thing and a drawing in and using of spatial distance and timing and stuff like that, you know, is not taught.
No.
You know.
It's hidden, as
Yeah.
they say. Like, we have a lot of it in the ninjutsu, and we call it, it's hidden.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's there. It's everywhere.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like most competitive distances are at the end of the punch, so the contact is here.
Yes.
The contact should be back here.
Exactly.
You know, and then the addition of where you're hitting, just say solar plexus. You know, this is what's not being taught, because it's why it was kicked out of competitiveness, the early competitions, because people were getting broke up.
Yeah.
But you see, that in my mind again, I might get criticised over this, I don't care, right? Is that if you got nothing to defend against, if you're competing against one another, and you know it's not going to hurt you, you're not defending yourself anymore.
No.
You've no need to.
No.
The thing is to get in fast and first, right? And get your point. But when you walk out in the street, you don't have that luxury.
No.
Because you try to punch, then you're only going to do what you've been trained to do, which is punch that range, your power peters out at that thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if that makes sense to you,
And
you
there's
know.
no referee stopping. There's no point
No, that's it,
tapping.
yeah.
It's full on, and you keep going until you can't go.
No, I'm not running down competition. It's a good sport for people that want to do it and stuff like that. But for people that go around, and why maybe karate's popularity dropped, is because they go in with the thing of the notion, I'm going to learn some self-defense. Then they find out that they're in a class and they're just sparring around the whole time and bouncing sideways and stuff. You know, it doesn't make, to me, it didn't compute. So when Kim Sensei came down, Kim McMenamin came to a club, maybe on about 3 visits back in the 90s to my dojo, and I got very into it. He's very good, really good at it, you know. I don't know if he's still working that these days, but I was very impressed, because I had got Dillman's books and stuff like that, but to actually have someone there that had studied with him and could practically teach something to us, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I think the big thing as well with a lot of the systems is people don't know the bunkai.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Or they have a miscued version of what bunkai is.
Well, that's it. But the other thing, I totally agree with you. But again, anything I say here is my opinion. It doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But my opinion is that whatever you can make of the bunkai, because if you fix it to one particular way of doing it, and someone sees something else, it doesn't mean they're wrong.
No.
But it's an extra thing to add on. You know, we can practice it this way, or we can practice it that way, and whichever way emerges if you were under attack is the way we react to it, rather than, oh, I've got to do this, that, you know.
Yeah.
The people forget that you're practicing both sides of the body in set drills, like you would with a partner. Set drills, that you can get the idea. After that, you've got to use my favourite terms, improvise, adapt and overcome, which is, okay, you might not be standing in the perfect cat stance or this, that, but you use the principle of the cat stance, the weight bearing on the more to the back leg and slightly later on the front and so on. You know, that kind of thing. And my kind of thing is that if you're hitting from here, why is everybody always training out to here in the basics and stuff? And why is it not explained to them? Why are they saying block? We all know blocks are too slow. It's always going to be, and that is Wado-Ru. Wado-Ru is parry, avoid, evade.
Which
you know
is
what I mean?
basically
Enter.
It's what happens in boxing.
Exactly.
It's the same thing, because you can't block.
Yeah. You know, so again, as I said, it's just my own particular preference on how I teach and practice is I try to get the students not through fast kind of ways of do. In other words, you're going to what belt will I be in 3 months? Well, you will be a yellow belt. You haven't even done one lesson yet, but you're going to be a yellow belt.
Yes.
You know, in my own group, it's whenever you're ready. Then you do your thing. If you've got what we're talking about, then you do your thing. I think I was I forget how many years I was as a brown belt. I did my brown belt test at 3 different occasions. I did the second queue and the first queue at 3 different times as well over a period of maybe a few years because we switched groups, and they'd say, the instructor would say, "Oh well, you've got to do their grade in this before you,
course,
and all this crack."
Yeah.
When it was actually nearly the same thing. But it's same with my Dan grades. When I entered the membership of the Wado-Kai, I was a third Dan. That I was still to this day. So thankful to another sensei of mine, Sensei Doug James of the Chosen Kai in the UK. And I went as a third Dan to take training within the Wado-Kai under, I'm not forgetting his name now. You know, this happens sometimes at my age.
It's totally natural. So many people in our lives.
Oliver Brunton, right, who was then kind of a 6th Dan, I think, in the Wado-Kai, the Japanese Wado-Kai. And he had said, you know, if you want to kind of move from the third Dan, because I'd gone solo at this stage again. Finances didn't allow us to keep bringing the instructors over because the club wasn't. We didn't charge a lot for our training and stuff, so there was no kind of a lot of money to go around, you know. Yeah. And so after a couple of years, decided then to take some training off Iwasaki as well. And I think he's the only resident Japanese in Ireland now. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yoshi Yozaki. Yeah. And he went out on his own as well and formed his own water group too. So, but as I said, my thing was I took my first Dan again. I took my second Dan again. I took my third Dan again, just to have it put on a piece of paper. You know, we've got, yeah. But it meant I had to do the gradings and all that again, right? So anyway, so much for advancement. Back when I started, but yeah, and most of the time that I would be the same. I mean, like I said, like I didn't rush my grades throughout the years. You know. I stayed on my Dan grades quite a good amount of time too, you know. Yeah. And but it's all about getting the experience. And I've been working since I left the army in 1993. And by chance I got a phone call. I had done a little bit before the army, a little bit of bouncing and security work. And I was asked to down a man by another good friend of mine, army buddy. He says, "Can you fill in over not far from where I lived?" And I says, "Yeah," because I was unemployed at the time. So Christmas was coming up. I said, "Yeah." So your man didn't want to work Christmas, so I got in, but I was kept on after it then, and I worked for roughly. I retired from that maybe, I don't know, it was overall about near 20 years of doing the doors. Now, it wasn't only door, I did some other type of securities as well. Never did static security, you know, as in, you know, shops and stuff like that. No, it was always, you know, when there was a business was having problems with somebody, or maybe at one case it was employees who were ripping off the owner, and when he found out, he sacked them all, but then he was threatened and this, that and the other, and then he needed a little bit of you know, backup, you know. Then the company I worked for would provide that and stuff like that, you know. And So we're all licensed, the whole lot, but we were just there to make sure that nothing happened this man and stuff like that, and never any violence or anything like that. So door work was a different story.
So I'd say you saw how the practicalities of.
I've got a lot of carried a lot of injuries from the door work still to this day, and I won't blame door work on it, but I've had my hips replaced twice. I've had a recent knee replacement done. I've got a crooked arm from the elbow here and the thumb. If you see, it's all out of place. That's because I didn't think about going to the hospital and getting them reset and stuff like that. It'll go away in the morning, you know what I mean, kind of thing. But forgot about then, you know. But it plays me up now. But yeah, that was a learning as a career, a learning curve, you know, in regards to it's not all about just standing there, but it's also not all about fighting either. It's all about voice control and stuff like that, and calming people down and all that kind of stuff, you know. So, and I was very fortunate to work with many good ex-army and civilian doormen and ladies. I can't mention because I'm still talking to them, some of them, right? So, yeah, they very good crews.
And how did you find then, having, you know, that karate history behind you? Were there times where some of it was useful in terms of not just necessarily hitting people, but and there's times then when you did stuff that didn't work?
Yeah, obviously in the beginning, before all the strict rules and regulations, was a lot. Doormen weren't as restricted as they are now, right? But to go back, I think my first job probably was in the 70s, probably late 78, 79, where now this wasn't a constant job. Like, this was someone to ring you up, can you do a door for me or something like that?
Yes.
You know, and you'd be there, and of course you get the hassle. But at that time, karate was a good thing for people to know you did, because then they didn't want to, sometimes didn't want to. You get the odd guy who wanted to try you out, like, you know, but it wasn't a case of, like, as I said to you, you know, as a competitor, I competed all round. I competed at full contact, as well as tournament karate at the time, which was contact to the body and stuff, but not supposedly to the head. But, you know, a lot of lads got broken noses and stuff like that, you know, in them days. But so, you know, taking it from that and then on the door, it was a much different experience, as I was saying to you there. But what did happen, without me going into any real details, you were able to find out what was the best way to hit, you know, and defend yourself at the same time. And the idea of you know, when you're outnumbered, you know, there could be 3 or 4 of ye, and there could be 9 guys turn up at the door and you're not letting them in. Do you know what I mean? There's still only 3 or 4 of ye. So you're talking about there's like 2 and a bit to 1, you know, kind of thing. But again, it was good crews working together, you know, and once you could get it stopped. And I have to say that, as I said, I learned from those guys as well. You know, I didn't walk onto the thing and say like this, but I have had new guys join the thing, and maybe they didn't know me, but this is so and so. How you doing? I do karate. Not me, no, but this to be telling you what to do. Oh yeah, and I do MMA, and I do this, and I do that, and the other. All right, yeah. Oh yeah, and there's about 365 points on the body you can hit. Oh really? That's me. Oh really? You know, I don't need to know that, like, you know what I mean. Yeah. But they would tell you that. But on a lot of occasions, they were the ones that when something did kick off, they'd turn up after and say, oh, my radio wasn't working. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you knew who was who. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of altercations, and a lot of times when it did come to fisticuffs, as any doorman will tell you. So, but for the best point, the older I got on the door, the wiser you get, you know, and you'll only, you'll know when to move, and stuff, you know, and when
Yeah.
something should become more physical when it shouldn't. But you'll also become more skillful at how you use your voice and stuff. So that's all part of self-defense as well.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, I don't want to be beaten up. So if I can talk somebody down without having to get in, I have enough injuries. You know, I don't want, don't need any more. I'm coming to retirement age, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then suppose the other thing for people that haven't done door work is, you know, we spar and you get there and there's a bit of nerves, but the adrenaline, like when you're
Yeah,
facing someone who's
Yeah.
potentially trying to kill you or
Yeah,
break
yeah.
you up, how does that adrenaline dump change?
That's a good question because the adrenaline, as we know, is our rocket fuel. You know, once you let go with it, it's our friend, like it's bang, like that. But sometimes you can call it rocket legs. You know, your legs start doing that if you're facing something. But that's this like build up, like to the rocket taking off. But you've also got to control that as well.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, because you don't want to, this person may not, it might be all mouth. And so you going and beating him up prior to him, you find out exactly what he's up to. But at the same time, you can't take the chance. But so my take on it was all about the distance. And you set yourself a space. It's 1 meter square. And you're standing in the middle of that. So it's even all around then. But the minute he puts his foot into that, you're in
Right, that's your...
straight away. You're not standing back into a fight guard or anything like that, because you're telling him what you're going to do. And as I said to you at the beginning, he may well be a better fighter than you.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And it could be a 25-year-old guy who's down the club punching bags or plays rugby or something like that, and he could be in on top of me, and I could be like in my 50s or whatever and stuff, you know. So you're not good. And that's again going back to originally what we were aiming at. Where does the kata? The kata taught me a fair few things when I was in a position. For instance, I was on top of a landing. I had 3 flights of stairs. And anyone, I'm going to say the next board, which is in Newbridge, so anyone will knows where I'm talking about, right? And there was a kick-off between a load of Polish guys one night. You know, they're fighting amongst themselves, so we went to separate them. And so anyway, they started having a go at us then. That's when they joined together, started having a go at us. So I remember holding one guy down on the ground, on the landing, and I was this knee was on the ground, this leg was kind of out a little bit, so I was kind of half squat. And I had it holding him down, and next minute I got it. I seen a foot coming to me, and it hit me in the forehead. This kick, it's better than getting kicked here. My hands were tied up, turned my head down, bang, here. But it wasn't a hard kick.
Right.
See, everyone can fight till they have to fight. Do you know what I mean? So everyone puts their knuckles up there and face, come on then, come on, I'll have you. You know, and then when the fight starts, and
Yeah.
you know, and that's why we train. But like, when I was down in that position, I knew a second kick was going to come. And with that, I remembered in Kushanku, there's a particular, I'll show it to you later, there's a particular drill where you go down low and you bring the hands up, down and out like this. And you do it twice in the kata, like, you know. But I was actually half in that position, the low position, because your man was on the ground flat on his back, and I was one knee down on the ground, the other one's foot just put out to his side, right, out to the side. And I had to let go of him. Your man's kick came up. As I pulled back, this hand went under his leg. This hand went under his leg. This one, which is the kind of like 1, 2, 3, pulled his leg up and came down on that side. So I had his shin coming down here and forced him via his knee, to the ground.
So kind of like a leg lock.
It wasn't a leg lock. It was attacking the joint, all right, but it was forcing him in a downward block type of movement.
Yeah.
So I was holding him here and doing that, and he went down because they're not trained to do anything. They don't understand when these things happen.
Yes.
You know, because they're not training,
Yes.
like, you know. And but as I said to you, that was an improvise, adapt, overcome version of something from a kata. So if anyone was expecting to do it exactly the same, oh, you can't do it like that. You know, after the fight is over, oh, you can't do it like that because the kata says you have to do it this way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Improvise.
It's,
You know, yeah.
It's usually taught by people who've never been in combat.
Yeah, you're right. They haven't felt the danger.
Yes.
Because that's what you're fighting against, is the danger of being hurt. How many top-ranked boxers that we knew was supposed to win the fight went into the ring and the underdog came in and knocked them out?
Yeah.
It only takes one punch. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
You know, it only takes one punch.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be cautious, you know. You got to be fast, you got to be first. That's the preemptive end of it. Now, that's in self-defense.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just going around, you know. I don't want to fight with anybody, you know. But the adaptation then, as well as you were saying about weapons, I mean, Wado-Kai is just the same as any other unarmed combat system or system of combat. That you just put something in your hands and do what you're doing, what you'd normally do as an unarmed, can fill that gap as well, say for the knife and stuff like that. It's a favourite practice of mine, like with knife defence and stuff. Now, what I never do is we do obviously teach a drill or two to practice for reflex training and stuff like that. But with the live sparring, one guy has the knife, one is defending. I would have that in my club as all freestyle. And it has to be a close quarters because it's no good you're running away from them all the time. Which this is in the instance that someone got close enough to you to produce a knife and try to stab you with it. And you react to that, so reflex action. And it's involving multiple positions with the arm. So you've got many katas that do the likes of this and stuff like that, you know, where you're doing two things in opposites and stuff. Like I could go on for hours about this. So if you want to stop me at any stage, just stop me, you know, because yeah. So that would be much to the answer to some of the questions. I hope that you've asked me about, you know.
Because I think with kata as well, I mean, the idea is at some stage it should be instinctual, that it's ingrained that if someone comes up and you just do something from a kata, rather than trying to do a kata.
Well, exactly right. I mean, you know, I don't know how familiar you would be with the general karate katas.
We would have done. We would have done the pinans.
The pinans.
Like that, yeah. Okay,
so the pinans can be very underrated by a lot of people, just because you get your colour belt grades on those katas as you're moving along. So it's a build-up. Some people say that it's kushanku dismantled into 5 different katas, you know, and stuff like that. But each kata is covering, say, in the initial stages of training, it's covering a certain amount that you need for that, and then you're supposed to compile it all back together again when you're going to black belt and stuff like that, and, you know. But like the Pinan Nidan, for instance, I did put a couple of bunkai drills that I use myself from that kata, you know. But it would show you very much I've changed probably the way that I like my students to move in the kata as well. I don't like them to do them fast. What should be fast is the application of the technique. So if you're going to go down and say Pinanidan, the first one, and then you do the step and punch, the second one, it's not going from here to here that should be done fast, because it is a practice thing. But you should practice the technique of that and the technique of that. But if you go bang, bang, you're not practicing anything. It's just bouncing.
Yes.
Like someone on a punch bag, and they punch the punch bag, and they were going to show you how fast they can punch, like this, you know. And then you come in, you go bang, 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 like that. There's a big difference there. They're just bouncing off the bag, making noise.
Yeah. You're
getting in there and you're practicing how to get the technique into the depth of the target area, you know.
Yeah, and you're gaining power. And for me, I always found that with the kata, the first thing it was teaching you is changing the angle.
Yeah.
Always. You were always never in line with someone. You were constantly moving.
Yeah, well, that's we could base that kind of around like what we call taisabaki. You know, that term would be used in a lot of different martial arts as well. Yeah, and but taisabaki to avoid. You know, so it's same with boxing. You know, you slip, you slide. You know, you just kind of evade. You know, and go under and stuff like that. You know, at the same time parrying. You know, parrying. And not to go out and try to, to try actually block somebody just because it was an Enter the Dragon. And Jim Kelly was able to go back, bang, 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 and your man was stepping in their bout, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. Because, that's stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. But in practicing the kata, you can do the stop, start and still practice the technique fast. And then test, have you got the stance right? Have you got the weight right? And stuff. Now, when you take it out of the kata and you're using what's not a fixed position, you can still adopt those weight changes and difference of transference of weight from one leg to the other, stuff like that, to avoid or to lean or anything like that from a standing position. So we have Shizentai Dachi, you know, which is more or less a natural position. It's just standing straight. And then bouncers do it, but most time don't know they're doing it because they're putting their hands up,
defense,
but they're standing in the correct spot, you know, with their feet just kind of here and not in a big stance or something like that, you know.
Yeah, because I always found that for combat, everything shortens.
Yeah,
and
it has to because the range.
Because the range is there and you're protecting.
We've been so kind of overtaken in the karate world. I won't talk about the martial arts in general because, but I will talk about the karate world as regards to that. It's lacking in the teaching. And the only ones that will appreciate that is the ones that go on to, like myself in 1979, our instructor, Sensei Tom Kehoe, he was a karate man's karate man. You know, he still I haven't seen him in years, but I trained with him for about 10 years, I think. And I accredit him with anything I think I have in regards to aggression and stuff is down to him because he trained us all that way, you know. And but what you've got now is kind of like I said to you, is that it's not the same karate. The people won't understand the Shizentai Dachi. That's for my snap punch or it's for my cross counter punch, you know, where I shift to the side and I have to have my back leg locked and I have to have that's it. But to be able to move into those positions on your toes, basically, in fast avoidance and counter, you know. Sensei Peter May, he's one of the top ranking men in the British with Sakigami Sensei, the British Wado-Kai, and he said to me one day, "You move pretty good for a big guy." I really took that as a compliment, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was just the avoidance. I mean, I was a power lifter as well, like, you know.
Oh, okay.
And I still train weights today and stuff like that. And obviously people think that that could affect karate and speed, stuff like that, you know. It does if you don't know how to relax yourself when you're doing it. This is the other essence of Wado, the relaxation, you know, is when, you know, you're letting go your punch from here, your hands are open, you know, say, and you go bang, like that. Or do you clench your fist really tight, pull it back a bit, and then just slap it straight out? No, you're all tense. That's going to slow it down. Yeah. So if it was a weightlifter that tensed up my hands, I was going to be tensing the weight on the thing, like, you know.
Yes.
You do the opposite. You just stay in light, and then you keep the joints are light and fast in movement, you know. And then, of course, the fast twitch muscles will take on the information as well there, you know.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There is a lot. I think as well with I suppose a lot of arts, people just get to black belt. And you know the katas and stuff, and then you open your own club.
Yeah.
So you're teaching based on your own knowledge, which is basically just a few katas and some techniques. That there's no deeper elements to it, in some regard, depending on who your teacher was.
Yeah. And you see, okay, right, downgrades. In my day, as a beginner, and coming up through the Q grades, if a third Dan or a second Dan or even a first Dan walked into the room, people would bow. You know, as a mark of respect, he's reached that point, and because there wasn't so many around. If they were a fifth Dan, generally they were masters. You know what I mean? You had two bows, you know, kind of thing. You know? And but today, it doesn't mean anything to a lot of people. They want them, but it doesn't mean, like, I appreciate mine because I know the work I put in to get it. But if your whole career is based on karate coaching, for instance, and not enough understanding of karate as a martial art itself, you know, what level should you be at in a skill level with regards to belts?
Yes.
You know, but belts themselves were only something anyway that was brought in by Jigoro Kano, the judo founder, who advised the young starting off group of karate masters, white suits, have a grading system, and this, that, and the other. You know, none of that was there when the Okinawans came over first and started teaching.
That's because it's a Western thing. We need to be rewarded.
Well, this is in Japan now.
Well, that was in Japan.
This was in Tokyo. Yeah, this was in Tokyo before World War II, like, you know. And Funakoshi arrived somewhere, I've heard 1917 and I've heard 1921 or something like that. But it's somewhere within that period. He arrived over. He was asked to do a demonstration. He's brought over because some Japanese had, obviously they occupied the island, so they'd been over and seen, it was only called te.
That's right.
Or two-day. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And 2 day, I think, I'm not sure, I think that might be the pressure point pronunciation for that. Kyusho Jitsu is what the Japanese called it. And the karate itself was just known as te.
Which is hand, is it?
Hand.
Yeah, it's hand, yeah.
Yeah. And they changed the Chinese calligraphy from the Chinese one, which meant China hand, you know. So they changed that to empty hand, you know, to the Japanese calligraphy, you know.
That's right.
So but when they arrived over, there was no names, there was no styles. There was only the Shuri, Tamari, and Naha teachers coming over, and that was the first the styles of each city. This is the way we practice up here. This is the way we practice there. You know?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's where they got us now. Nahate and Tamarite and Shurite. Wadaru and Shotokan, I think, are both, they would be our Shurite descendants. So, and I think that's, Funakoshi Sensei. He was the one that introduced what became known as, it was Shurite, but then it became known as Shotokan. Or Wado-Kai, maybe at the start. It was changed Shotokan after the dojo.
Oh, yes.
When they built the first dojo, yeah. And his name was Shoto as a pen name for writing his poetry. So. Yeah.
Going back then to when you first started, like we all know that the old school training was harder. So even when you take, say, doing your upper blocks, like you were actually hitting, were you strengthening the forearms? Were you doing exercises where you actually contact.
You're same with Uchiuki. The inner block, everything was contact on your partner, like this, and that was right up. You still get that being done. There's probably still some groups do it still. Old groups like Kyokushin and stuff like that, they still use a lot of contact, body contact for toughening and stuff like that. But really, you're not toughening. I don't know whether you've looked into this a bit in this way. You're deadening the nerves. You're training the nerves to take that, and it shuts down the area, so it's the pain. It's not so much that be like getting an injection to a painkiller.
Yes,
the pain is still there, but you just don't feel it so much because you've been training this for so long. Your nerves have accepted it, but it doesn't mean you're not doing any damage.
Yes, you just can't feel the pain.
Yeah, because we did all the banging your knuckles off walls and everything like that, trying to, as I said to you, my whole thing, started off karate. I didn't know nothing about it, building up to the point where 20 years after I said, it's time that I started knowing more about this. I could do all these kicks, I could do whatever this, that, the other. But at the end of the day, you ever see The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? Batman? I want to be able to do that, But, and the thing with Sensei Meneman there as well about the Kyushu Jitsu stuff, it brought a lot of information back that I could put into, and looking at the katas as well, putting in there, and then adapting certain things to what I was saying, Now, I've done a couple of seminars here and there, that I've explained certain things, and then still got questioned by some downgrades, like, as to this, that, the other. I say, yeah, but you're missing the vital point. If you've come up with an application for that very thing, you've done a good job.
Yeah.
Because it's another one you can teach that to me now.
Yeah.
I'm not to teach you my
It
way.
has to evolve and it has to stay alive.
Yeah.
For it to pass on.
Yeah.
And how do you find now that you're training with your hip injuries and your knee injuries? How is your training? How is it adapted? How have you, obviously high kicks probably.
Yeah, improvise, adapt, overcome.
Your kicks would be probably lower, would they? Things like that?
I'm at the currently. I'm still nursing this new knee, but I'm currently able to stand on it and make a decent chudangari with my left leg, up at mid level now, whereas last year probably down here somewhere. But I train for the self-defense training anyway. It's all low kicks, because the Wado katas, such as Niseshi, for instance, when I learned Niseshi first, I learned it a slightly different way. I learned it the way Sensei Suzuki did it, but with the Wado-Kai had a different version, and the Wado Academy. It's very slight. It's really a change of direction, but the kicks were up at Chudan. The side kick was up at Chudan Sokdo, whereas the original way of doing the kata, they would be down and the Wado-Kai practice it at knee as well. I think maybe the Wado Academy as well, but the Wado, as far as I know, again, it could have changed since my time with those particular groups, that it was Chudan Gary, So, obviously for self-defense, you're not going to be kicking high. Take 1 foot off the ground, no matter whether your legs are good or bad. But my emphasis now through certain katas like Naihanchi, where you've got the sweeping up. And remember the 4 styles, recognized styles of Japanese karate, have their own versions of Naihanchi,
Right, yes.
So the Wado one is not a long one, it's a short one. But it has an awful lot to do with strangling and chokeholds and stuff like that, in it as well. So, and back knuckle strike this way rather than, this way kind of thing, in a lot of katas do going like that. So, you just, the low kicks, I've told anybody comes into me, oh, I'm not going to be able to kick high, you know. I'm not asking you to kick high. In your syllabus it says, Gedan, Chudan, Jodan, you know. So Soccer Gary Gedan down towards the knee, right? Soccer Fumakomi. And Chudan and Jodan. Well, if I'm not built to do a Jordan kick, I'm not built to do a Jordan kick. I'm not going to ask you to do a Jordan kick. I'm going to ask you to do the best kick you can, low. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. This is where, again, I had kind of an objection to the fact that people were singled out as regarding, you go to the back of the class. Are we still on?
Yeah, no, that's grand.
Yeah. You go to the back of the class because you're not as good as these at the front. And I'm going to give all my attention to these at the front because they get it.
Oh, okay. And they got a better
Do you know what
kick.
I mean?
Yeah.
So I prefer that I look at the person, I say, don't try to build a person around the karate, build the karate around the person. And that's my way.
Makes more sense.
I think. And even if they're doing a kata and they don't look like they could win a competition with a kata, if I can ask them a question, ask, what are you doing there? And they say, I'm doing this. Well, that's okay, you know. And if they're able to, because I've got some people in my, one man is the same age as myself. He's been training about 25 years now, I think, you know, 22 of those years, I think, with me, you know, and he has come on tremendously. But if someone else walked in, they might not say, because they're expecting this competition sharpness, this, that, and the other. He came to karate to learn how to defend himself, not to win a trophy. So I would work things around that. And me, as an example, I say I've adapted my kicking or anything and the way I look at kicks to my capabilities and what would be the safest option for me to do, you know. So that's where I'm at with that. Yeah, I could do spinning kicks. I could do back kicks. I could do jumping kicks. I'll send you a few photographs of some of my stuff from years ago, and you can get an idea, you know.
And then for that, then would you have a good stretching regime? Would that be part of the classes as well?
Yeah.
For that,
yeah, I've got in the last few years I've adopted five yoga stretches that I prefer to do. It covers basically what I want, but I've also left the box splits there as well. Even though I've got the hips, it shouldn't affect my muscles and tendons, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's affecting my hips, but those things are not going to hinder me, you know, in doing that. Where I get hindered by having implants is it's not so good for trying to lift your leg, for me anyway, to bring it up to, for a side kick, to lift it up and then extend it, because it wants to drop.
right?
You know?
Yeah.
No, it's not saying.
Yeah.
But then you see, I've got things that I do that's not martial arts. Like I told you, I do a lot of weight training and stuff like that. And you know, and when I had my first hip replacement, for instance, I was back working at 6 weeks on the door. You're not supposed to be off your crutches till about 12 weeks, like, you know.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
but that's the exercises,
Yeah.
the stretches, and the bit of stretching. I wasn't doing box splits at that stage. Don't get me wrong, but you work your way around it. That you're not going to sit down for like 12 weeks, then get up and get off one crutch and this, that, and the other, and so on. So I was, you know, and the second time I got this one done, I was like 8 weeks, and that's all down to the martial arts and the training and being able to practice kata and stuff just for movement. To get you going again, brings you on a lot faster, you know.
So there's a lot more to it. It's not just even fighting; it's about movement,
holistically. Isn't that what you'd say?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can use kata for holistic regions as well. It's multifunctional, you know. And that's anybody's kata, no matter what style, not just Wado-Ru. You know, Wado-Ru katas tend to be a little bit less complicated, but the fighting system itself was meant to be less complicated than most of them. I don't know, Shotokan have maybe 60 odd katas, you know. Otsuka never liked kata, as far as my readings tell me. He didn't like kata, and he preferred to just do Nai Hanshi and Seishan, as far as I've been told. Just the two kata.
Just the two of them.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how you can use a bit like Tai Chi, I suppose. I mean, people do it for health, but it is technically a martial art.
Yeah.
You could do the same with. You could join a karate club. You could join Wado in the morning, and your health would improve, without learning how to do anything else.
Well, we'll discuss that now for a second, right? I was a very bad asthmatic as a kid. Very bad. I was suffering badly with that. When my mother and father used to move between England and Ireland because for work. When he was 16, he left and went to work as a labourer in England when they were rebuilding England after the war and stuff like that. And he's there working away and stuff. But then he'd get homesick, he'd come back again. But I eventually met my mother over there, who was from Northern Ireland. And eventually I arrived on the scene. Now, the cities at that time Dublin might have been the same as well, was smoggy, very smoggy, coal fires everywhere, millions of them, and I suppose a lot of kids, newborn kids and stuff, they'd be breathing, then nearly everyone smoked, and probably breathing in, and maybe that's what caused it. Maybe it's just something that you're born with, I don't know, but I was born bad with that, and it was probably my uncle saying to my father, should bring him down, it'd be good for his breathing, to the club. But my thing was because he was in it, I wanted to go there. I wasn't thinking about that. But and I never looked back. And the only time I kind of may have looked back a little bit, not on that area, but on the period that I had from that time. Now, there was several moves back and forward, and every time I changed environment, I couldn't stop coughing for about 6 weeks till I'd adjust to the air and smoggy air and stuff again every time we went back to England, But, it was when I actually couldn't run anymore because I used to do 6 miles a day,
Right.
And I couldn't run anymore. And it tended to come back a bit then, but not as bad because I still do my bag work. I run 2 fitness classes a week for non-karate people, based on martial art movement, and it's my version of Taibo. It's called.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's called Spartan. I just call it Spartan. And it's just, unlike Taibo, there's no aerobics moves, and it just has stand on the spot. Boxing, kickboxing type moves in it,
So it's for health as well.
Yeah.
So, Colin, thanks a million for coming in and talking a lot about the Wado. I know you're going to demonstrate some stuff for us now in a little while. We're looking forward to. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey.
You're welcome.
And
you're welcome.
Explaining about Wado to us.
Like I said, I could go on for hours.
Absolutely. We'll have you back for the next one.
Part 2.
Thanks so much, Colin.
Okay, you're welcome.